Hey gang, it's Chris Angel coming at you for another episode of Marketing for the Rest of Us. And tonight we're talking about labels. Labels are this fun little thing. Specifically, I'm thinking of Enneagrams because I'm sort of head deep, neck deep in the Enneagram. I'm learning about it, reading about it, listening to podcasts about it. And it's cool. It's really cool. I have decided that I am an Enneagram 4, and I believe that I have a 5-wing. And a 3-wing, maybe a little bit in there too, but I definitely lean towards the 5-wing. So if you're into Enneagrams, there you have it. That is who I am. I believe that subtype is called the observer. The observer. And the cool thing about a label like that, like I'm an Enneagram 4, that's my label. The cool thing about it is like, I'm learning nuances about myself that put words to why things are the way they are for me. I haven't been able to understand some of those things in the past. And it's like, oh, okay, well, that makes sense why I'm that way, right? For example, let me put this in the specifics for you. So 4s in the Enneagram are known to be like emotional. We can be really high, really low, and we can go into the shadows of things, and we can hang there. We can hang in the shadows of things without feeling, it's not that we don't feel, but like we're not scared of the shadow. Like we'll go hang out in the shadow. We'll be transparent and vulnerable. And this, like, frankly, this is 337 episodes in the show of me doing just that. Like, this is how I teach marketing. I teach marketing even that way. Go into the shadows and find the truths in there and then share it back with the world. It's interesting because it's such a Enneagram 4 way to market. But it makes sense to me. And it's powerful for others. So that's an example of how like a 4, it's describing why I like to market this way. It's describing why I like to look in the shadow. Anyway, my point is that it's cool when you find a label that puts words to things you didn't have words for. And you're like, wow, I feel so validated. I feel so known right now. Which, by the way, is another Enneagram 4 thing. Like, we want to be seen for how unique we are, right? We want to be seen for our authenticity and our uniqueness. And we want you to see that, which is really funny. Okay, so that being said, I noticed in the last couple of days as I've been diving into the Enneagram 4 and all of the descriptions that I found myself, I caught myself starting to say things like, oh, well, I'm moody. I'm a 4. 4s are moody. That's how I would say it. I was listening to a Pandora playlist this morning that was like, really slow pop, like slow and moody pop music. And I got stuck there for like an hour, and I just was feeling really, in the moodiness of it. We'll just keep calling it that. And I noticed I'm like, man, I'm doing this because I'm a 4. And I started to almost let the label of a 4 define who I was. I started to let it define the actions I would take. Like, yeah, I'm going to sit here because this is what 4s do. Right? Now, let me shift gears for a minute. I'm telling you about me, but let me tell you about you for a minute. Like, it's so interesting. Like, we all have a tendency to let labels define us. I see this a lot with, listen, no offense, empaths. I see this a lot with empaths. Empaths are like, oh, well, I'm an empath. And then that label for you, you've added a lot of meaning to that label. Now, I'm not trying to trivialize the feelings that you get as an empath, or even the exhaustion that comes with you taking on the feelings of others. What I'm wanting to do in this is to point to that we always have agency. We always have choice. We are not defined by a label. And I think because the label can actually put us in prison. We can feel like we don't have choice in our life. Well, I'm an empath, so I don't go out places because, I take on people's energy as if to say, like, you're going to take on people's energy and you don't have a say in it, or you couldn't build a bubble around you, or like, you understand, like, it just takes you out of the entire question of like, Well, how else could it go? We don't even think there's another way it could go because we're letting the label tell us how it goes for us. And so whether you're, I don't really care what the label is that you've identified with. What I'm wanting to point to and what I caught myself doing today, and I've done it many times before, is in the excitement of being seen and understood by a label, like, oh my God, this label's putting words to things I couldn't understand about myself before. We fall so in love with that label that we then let the label tell us how we're supposed to act and be. Or we let other people with the same label tell us how it is for them. And then we absorb their story about it as if it's our story about it, because that's what all Enneagram 4s do, or that's what all empaths do, or that's what all whatevers do. And that robs you of your important work and your self-expression. It puts a lid on your growth. So you could have a label called, I'm really busy, or I have no time, or, I'm a millennial, I'm a boomer, I'm a whatever, I'm old, I'm young, I'm just a kid, right? I don't know what your label is, but the thing about a label is it does not define you. It informs you. And that's an important distinction, right? Because you can take the brilliant and wise information from a label and let it inform your decisions and your actions, right? As in, like, if I'm an Enneagram 4, I can think, okay, I know that I am emotional and I'm moody. That's why I'm feeling this way. In fact, that's how it was. I was like, okay, so right now I'm being pulled into this emotion, but I have a choice here. And my choice is, like, it feels good to feel those moody feelings for me. Like, it's like, it's like you're feeling something. You're like, emotion, I love it. But it was stealing my productivity. And I was like, in the past, I might have just stayed in that feelingness of it because it feels good to feel moody. And then let that sabotage my productivity. But today I caught myself and I'm like, no. I have things I want to do. And I started to make some choices out of that. And so I let the Enneagram inform why I was at where I was at and how I could make a better choice to get what I wanted to get, which was to be productive. And you have goals that you want. And some of the labels that you've put on yourself are limiting the choices you make. They're not informing your choices, they're limiting your choices. And so at the end of the day, the good news is you get to decide. You always have choice. And that is the only place of power. You only have power in the place of choice. If you don't have choice, then you're a victim of something, right? And many of us are walking around as victims to the labels we put on ourselves. The labels that we most identify with have become prisons for us. So, one of the easiest places to look for this is inside of marketing, because most people have a unhealthy relationship to marketing. They don't like it doesn't feel good to them, and they've told themselves they're not going to do it. Or they try it and then it doesn't work, and then they have all sorts of stories about that. Well, there's all kinds of unofficial and casual labels you've put on things like marketing. But those don't define you. And other people have labels for marketing, but those also don't define you. You are always at choice. And that is the only place of power. So you get to let the label inform the decisions you want, as if it were like some type of a consultant over here telling you what it thinks. And you say, thank you for sharing that with me. Now I'm going to make some decisions. And you have some decisions to make about your marketing, I would imagine. What is that going to be for you? What is next for you? And for many of you, there are a couple places I see that you need to go to work. One is getting clearer on your message, the conversation that you're here to lead in the world. Number 2 is the people you're here to serve. Most of you aren't clear about your message, first of all, but you're not even clear who that message is for specifically. And then number 3, it's like you're not necessarily even clear on the direction or the vision of your business. You have a service. Your service works in the moment when the client needs it, but you don't really know the bigger impact existentially out there that this work is contributing to. And so when it comes time for you to really think about, why am I doing all of this? The answer doesn't get much deeper than to provide for my family, to have freedom, to make some good money. There isn't anything for most people. They can't tell me existentially the impact they're making out there in the world. And what I know about humanity is that as we climb our levels of self-actualization, as we develop and expand as people, ultimately you're going to come to a crossroads of purpose, and you're going to if you're on a path right now that doesn't have purpose attached to it, you're going to get to a place where you feel like what you're doing is empty. You're going to get to a place where you feel like what you're doing doesn't count or doesn't matter. And then you're going to want to have work that makes a bigger difference. Now, your work might be able to make a difference, but if you don't connect the dots to what that difference is, then you won't get there, right? You're the one that's looking for purpose. And it's up to you to find what that purpose is inside your business that goes beyond your comfort and your paycheck and your retirement. It goes to them out there. And don't say customer service, and don't say to make the world a better place. Like, get specific about what impact you actually want to see in the world. This is what we call the groundswell. What is your groundswell in the world? When you are fully living in your purpose, connecting with the people you're meant and you desire to connect with the message you're here to lead, what is the impact in the world specifically? Okay? All right, gang. Well, that's it for tonight. Thanks for hanging out with me in this episode of Marketing for the Rest of Us. If you'd like to learn more about how I teach marketing, right, you can go to groundswellmethod.com, and there are some videos waiting for you there. Watch those. On the last page is an application button. You can click that to fill out the application. It comes to me, and our next 6-week program starts April 27th, I believe, at the time of this recording. There you have it. So thanks for hanging out with me here. Here is to you, gang. Not letting labels define you, but letting them inform you. See you tomorrow.